Okay, so I wrote my paper on how speech pathology, sign language, and linguistics relate. Um, First, I decided to write about speech pathology because in the beginning of the semester, this was the field of work that I was planning on going into, but I have since changed my plan to gerontology, but speech is still really interesting to me. Um, okay, let's see. So this first slide is about speech pathology. Speech pathology is the field of work in which a speech pathologist will evaluate, diagnose, and treat a communication disorder. Speech pathologists are like speech therapists and they help those who cannot communicate properly. Social communication disorders occur when a person has trouble with the social use of verbal and nonverbal communication. Sign language. So this slide's about sign language. Sign language has become such a large part of my life, and I'm so grateful to have been in such a amazing program with everyone I've met in these past 2 years. I'm sad to be leaving the program, but I will never give up on signing. That's why this one's so important. So, sign languages are those in which use body language and hand movements to convey language and conversation. Many people think that deaf individuals who use American Sign Language automatically are just going to use English, but this is not the case. Um, Actually, American Sign Language and English are two totally different languages. Um, that's where the misinterpretation comes into play because a lot of people just think that since people who are using American Sign Language like they think that they're using English since the words are the same, but they're actually two different languages. Um, Sign languages like American Sign Language, they actually don't have written forms. And sign language grammar is much more flexible than English, allowing for many different word orders to represent the same concept. Okay, so this slide is about linguistics. Um, this class this semester has been so interesting to me that I almost actually applied for the linguistics major at Stony Brook, but I recently decided against it because I learned about gerontology and everything like that, and that became really interesting to me. But this class has taught me a lot of things that I thought I've known, but I learned the terminology and everything for it, and I expanded my knowledge. I feel like this was like a continuation of that English class that I took, but that didn't really help with anything really. So this was like the further extension of it, and that's what I really liked about it. So linguistics is the scientific study of language. This includes the study of phonetics, morphology, syntax, and semantics. Um, Linguists undergo the process to assist non-English speakers and examine them learning the English language. Um, all different languages belong to different language families. There are about 6,900 spoken languages and about 300 sign languages in the whole world. And languages are rule based communication systems. Um, so this slide is just about interesting points and facts while I was researching further about all these topics and everything. Um, Many people have such negative thoughts towards people who have specific disabilities due to their lack of communication. Many think that since these individuals lack the ability to speak, that they're dumb and not like everyone else, and this is false because many people with disabilities can strive in sign languages, and that's their way of communication now. I also did not really realize that sign languages are not just for deaf people. This goes with the first point that I just said. Many autistic children will learn sign language when it is realized that they cannot communicate verbally. you can acquire language at such a young age, like younger than spoken languages are used. Many disabled individuals use sign language to express things that they felt like they could not have before. So basically, what I meant in like this whole slide was that like people who cannot really communicate on their own, like um for example, like I said, autistic children, they cannot um communicate sometimes because like depending on like how severe like their situation is or whatever, sometimes they just cannot communicate, but their mental ability to like strive in communication is still there. So many people will go down the route of teaching them sign language, and in most cases they do really amazing because these children still need to communicate and everything, and they have that in their mind that they like want to communicate and everything, but like the words just don't want to come out. So this is really amazing that sign language can actually work for not just deaf people, and I feel like that's like a really big misconception that people have. um and also a lot of people think that like I know the word dumb isn't like the best way to describe, but a lot of people think that people who are deaf or people who have like a disability or everything are dumb because they can't communicate or they can't hear or all this stuff, which is very false. And sometimes in some cases, like these individuals are actually smarter than hearing or like regular people. And some terms that we learned in class that I applied to this paper are ambiguity. That is the ability for something to have more than one meaning to it. Semantics is another one, and that's the linguistic study of meaning in language. Syntax is the set of rules, principles, and processes that govern the structure of sentences in a given language, usually including word order. Morphology, that's the study of words, how they're formed, and their relationship to other words in the same language. And lastly, phonetics. This is a branch of linguistics that studies the sound of human speech, or in sign languages, this is the equivalent aspects of sign. And that's really it for my paper. Um, I really found this paper to really give me more information about like linguistics and speech pathology and like sign language and everything like that I thought I already knew, and like it was just really interesting to like actually write about it in a paper. And I think that's it. Thank you.